Yan. Buongiorno, buongiorno. Buonasera, buonasera. Depending on what time zone you are, mga kameta. Kamusta kayo dyan? Ayan, tayo sa Villa Medici. So, of course, you can guess na saan po tayo ngayon. Nandito na tayo sa Italia, Florence. So, dumaan lang tayo dito para i-check a number of things. And of course, if you know, dito sa Italy rin, nasa gitna po sila ng isang malaking elections. So, election seasons po ngayon dito sa Italy. Within a week or so, actually 2 weeks, within 2 weeks by September 25, if not mistaken, we will know who will be the next government dito sa Italy. At base sa mga polls na meron tayo, mukhang this country will make a hard pivot to the right, no? So a right-wing party, most likely by Giorgia Meloni, Brothers of Italy, will most likely take over as the next Prime Minister of Italy. Of course, things could still change, guys. But the lead over the Party Democratic, the PD, center-left party, is a bit too huge, too large, no? Medyo double digits. So, ayan. Medyo nag-update din tayo dito sa Italian politics naman, since nandun naman tayo sa Spain. We'll talk more about this. Kahapon, dumaan din tayo sa Palazzo, kung saan, dun sa isang maliit na corner, nakita natin yung portraits, mga effigies of Niccolo Machiavelli. Good na Machiavelli. Actually, good si Machiavelli doon sa portrayal sa kanya, was very strong statesman. And of course, Machiavelli was a key figure, statesman and diplomat na nag-contribute dito sa survival of the Florentine Republic. Although not so fortunate for him when it comes to domestic politics, he ended up on the wrong side of the Medici family. So we'll talk about that more bukas tomorrow, guys. In fact, may article ako coming on Philippine Diary Inquirer tomorrow, precisely on Niccolo Machiavelli, lessons for Marcos in the Philippines. Kinanay ko yan, don't worry about it. So ipopost ko rin later yung portrait ni Niccolo Machiavelli na hanap ko dun sa Old Chancellery. Sa isang gilid lang. Sa may palazzo. So yun, kamusta kayo dyan, guys? Ayan, now, honestly, ganito of course, I love Espanya. And by the way, speaking of Spain, shout out naman dyan kay Sir Carlo doon sa La Cantina, Portmani, sa Ibiza. Thank you so much, sir, for your very kind hospitality. Maraming salamat doon sa mga kapwa natin Pilipino dyan sa Espanya, sa Ibiza. Maraming salamat din doon sa mga ating mga kaibigan na Espanyol who have been very, very kind. Whenever sinabi ko na taga Pilipinas ako, I mean, people make all sorts of guesses. Mexican, may British pa, may French pa, Turkish, and then I said, no, las Pilipinas, and then like super nice to me lalo. Doon sa Ibiza. Minsan ko nakaporma ka, hindi na makita yung mata ko, yun, baka mga British pa. Yung problema, mga British yung medyo kalat doon sa Ibiza and all. We don't wanna be compared to them, no? So anyway, maraming salamat doon sa mga ating kaibigan dyan, Sir Carlo again. Yung mga staff dyan sa La Cantina, perfect food, great food. Talagang nothing like Filipino hospitality all around the world, no? So maraming salamat, sir, for that, no? Thank you very much, Sir Carlo. Shout out naman sa'yo. Now, dito naman tayo sa Florence. Pag-usapan natin ng Italy. Sorry if I'm on the move. Ang problema is, I came here thinking it's a low season. Kasi tapos ng summer, ay yung pala, patayan pala dito pagdating sa tickets and all. Ayan, tuloy. So, maaga gumigising ako, takbo ng takbo, trying to see if I can find tickets and all. Medyo online kasi minsan na medyo alanganin ako sa online minsan. I don't know how safe they are, especially if I'm gonna give my credit card details or whatever. So, I try my best to buy things in person, if not get through some travel agency. And also, let's see, at least kahapon medyo nagpahinga tayo ng konti, we got some things done and we got to visit some places. But ang dami pang pwedeng puntahan dito eh. In the meantime, of course, nag-update tayo sa politika dito sa Italia. And to be honest guys, napaka-similar ang Italy sa mga bansa katulad natin. I mean, on the surface, well, on the surface mo ng Pilipinas, yung tingnan mo. Yeah, I mean, on paper rather. On paper, ang Italy po ay isang supposedly, diba, OECD country, member ng European Union, uh, so-called first world, no? Ayan, baka nakikimaritas yata yung mga taga dito sa akin. Pero, guys, promise, I mean, titignan niyo naman ang Italy. Yung ugali nila, yung politika nila, yung infrastruktura nila. Hindi eh. Ang layo. Sobrang layo. Pati kumpara sa Espanya. Parang mas develop pang Spain eh. And it's almost incomparable dun sa mga ibang bansa sa Europe katulad ng Germany or Netherlands or even yung mga pinuntahan natin last week, diba? Estonia, gano'n. Para mas develop na sila infrastructure. Tingnan mo yung internet mismo dito, ang hina ng internet dito. Sabog yung internet ko ng 2 days. Kaya I'm happy na nakapag-connect tayo kahit pa paano. So, first of all, ang Italy po ay napaka-relatable kung ikaw ay Pinoy. Of course, yung shared Catholic background natin, Roman Catholicism, yung Latin language, of course tayo Espanyol, sila of course Italiano, but these are Romance Latin languages. But yung isa pa, yung kanilang kultura dito, kaya ako natatawa ko parati nung sinasabi ng tao, mga Western, individualistic, mga Western, irrational, mga Western, ganito, ganyan. Punta ka dito. Katulad sila ng Pilipinas, yung sobrang tribalistic sila dito. Grabe yung mga biro ng mga, sabihin natin, taga Milano versus taga Napoli versus taga mga taga Florence, mga ganun. Taga Siciliano, like, parang katulad natin, di ba, mga Ilocano, Bisaya, Tagalog. Ganun na ganun din sila, very tribalistic. Tapos yung cousin pa natin, shoutout pala dyan, kay Marco Conde, yung cousin natin, thank you very much, Marco, for taking care of us. Fantastic time again sa Ibiza. Family time, clean fun, no party, nothing, no? Nagtrabaho-trabaho pa tayo doon. Except yung last day na, go talaga yung the best yung natin yung internet natin sa Spain. Grabe, ang ganda ng internet sa Spain. Best pa. Na-best pa niya yung South Korea. Ayan, naka-reconnect tayo. Nagalit yata sila sa akin, Okay, di na ako manglahit. No. I mean, I love Italy. I love their style. I can more relate to their style, their ugali, etc. But I'm saying, like, super relatable sila dahil nga dito sa kanilang sitwasyon, no? Speaking of infrastructure, kakasabi ko lang, grabe yung infrastructure nila, biglang ayan tuloy, na-disconnect pa yung internet natin. Ayan, so, sorry mahabol na ako dun sa mga meetings natin. Pupunta na tayo sa center of the town to check kung may mga pa tayo dyan. Kaya tayo kumain at saka habol natin yung mga ibang gusto kong gawin bago uwi tayo sa Pilipinas. Maganda yan. So yun guys, speaking of which, sabi ko nga, ang Italy po ay napaka-relatable sa atin, mga Pinoy, dahil sa kanilang kultura, including yung pagiging tribalismo nila. Di ba tayo may solid north tayo? Sila, yung version nilang solid north ay actually consolidated politically. The Northern League, no? Northern League yung tawag nila doon. Yun yung mga political forces from the northern, more industrialist parts of Italy na may more conservative right-wing points of view sometimes. At more critical dun sa less quote-unquote productive parts of the Italy. Na, siyempre, kung titignan nyo yung mga Ferrari, Lamborghini, titignan nyo yung mga Gucci, Versace, a lot of that comes from the northern regions of Italy. So yung ganitong solid north version, meron din sila niyan. Even more institutionalized. And yes, may pagka-proto-fascist tendencies pa yung mga ibang right-wing parties dito. After all, fascism, na-invento dito sa bansang ito. Let's put that into context, no? Now, the other thing, of course, that makes us very similar din sa mga Italiano is yung family-oriented nila. Yung pagka-family-oriented nila. In fact, yung pagka-family-oriented nila is one reason that explains, aside from demographics and other socioeconomic factors, yung vulnerability sa COVID. Dati kasi, unlike many other Western countries or developed countries, yung relasyon sa pagitan ng mga kabataan dito at saka yung mga grandparents nila ay napakalakas. So the interaction between the younger generations and old generation, the frequency was so high that increased actually the vulnerability to COVID and other kind of infectious diseases. So again, very similar sila sa atin even in terms of the family-orientedness, to a certain degree even the religiosity, the tribalism, regionalism, very strong also here. Jokes about people from Napoli, how they speak Italiano by extending that, you know. So, ayan. Pao na naman dito. Mga basura nila, hindi yata nila kinokollect na mabuti. So different from yung other parts of Europe na napakalinis and everything. Again, I love Italy. It's so stylish and all. Tingnan nyo naman. Yung mga Armani, Bulgari. I mean, yes, they got it all. Ganda. Given na yan. Pero yung construction nila is ayaw ko na magsalita. Baka makat na naman yung internet natin dyan. Now, so speaking of that again, steady na nga tayo dito. Ayan. Parating na. Yun na. So yeah, but I mean, the other thing that actually makes Italy very, very relevant for us, mga Pilipino, mga Asiano, is, and other countries with similar political systems, let's say besieged democracy, is yung kanilang brand of populism. In fact, pagdating sa Italy, I think they are the, essentially, inventors of modern authoritarian populism. Of course, the worst kind was the kind of fascism that Mussolini brought into force about 100 years ago. That's why I always cite Italian thinkers like Antonio Gramsci when I try to understand, or I draw on his works, Antonio Gramsci's works, when I try to understand the collapse of the political center and shift to a much more right-wing populist wave in many established democracies or fledgling democracies. Antonio Gramsci's ideas, reflecting on Italy's own experience in the opening decades of the 20th century, was extremely helpful to me. Now, going back to that, we saw also in the 1990s and the opening years of the 2000s, the 21st century, we had another form of populism, more right-wing than progressive, and that was, and it's a kind of populism that is increasingly universalized, and the populism I'm talking about is, I hope hindi ako narinig, baka may mga fans dito yan, si Berlusconi, Silvio Berlusconi. So, si Silvio Berlusconi ay isang napaka-interesting na tao. So, isa siyang media mogul, billionaire, at the same time, super populist, vivacious, decadent, controversial, loud, showboat politician you can imagine. So, if you want to understand where on earth did this billionaire, semi-clownish, populist, charismatic kind of leaders come from, I mean, of course, you can imagine Trump is definitely one of the big ones. Silvio Berlusconi of Italy is a big, big, important case. Now, as you may know, in the case of Italy, I'll give you a little bit of background in Italy. They used to have a much more progressive center-left coalition in power throughout the twilight decades of the 20th century. But the massive corruption scandal hit the ruling parties. So a lot of politicians were completely decimated and pushed out of politics. So ang nangyari doon was that created a political vacuum. And that political vacuum was immediately filled up by not only right-wing, but so-called outside-the-box candidates, completely fresh-faced politicians, but not very fresh face in terms of public imagination, like Silvio Berlusconi. So if you look at Berlusconi's run for politics in the 1990s and his consolidation of power in the 2000s before the Great Recession 2007-8. Tignan nyo talaga si Berlusconi, sobrang similar kay Donald Trump. In fact, of course, it's the opposite. It's like more like Donald Trump is similar to Berlusconi. And then yung humor ni Berlusconi, yung having fun, etc., yung violations of norms, of etiquette, etc. May movie actually si Silvio Berlusconi, no? Panoorin niya, sobrang crazy, loud. I mean, like, put Tata and Trump and Bolsonaro and all of them together, that's Silvio Berlusconi. And Berlusconi was able to achieve his own brand of populism, conservative, pro-business populism in one of the key countries dito sa European Union. I mean, that was just incredible for him to be able to achieve that. You know? And Berlusconi, of course, later on, will be also a very big political figure internationally because siya po yung point person in terms of dealing with controversial countries like Gaddafi's Libya and also dealing with Vladimir Putin. So there's so many pictures out there of Berlusconi and Putin schmoozing and confabbing and, you know, bromancing. There's also all these pictures of Berlusconi trying to strike deals with Libya under Gaddafi because, of course, these countries are major exporters of natural gas and energy, hydrocarbon goods. So Berlusconi was, you know, reaching out to all of these people to make sure Italy gets the best energy deals, etc. Now, of course, Berlusconi will be pushed to the corner nung nag-collapse yung economy ng Italy, 2007, 2008 onwards. And more especially dahil sa sovereign debt crisis kasi itong Italy, utang ng utang, consumer-driven, hindi naman ganun ka-productive katulad ng Germany, Netherlands, and some of the more advanced economies dito sa European Union. Even compared to France, I think they have not been doing that well, no, in terms of industrial manufacturing sector, no, and in terms of industrial manufacturing exports. So, temporarily out of power. So, over the past 10 to 15 years, you have more technocratic centrist governments. So, Mario Draghi, for instance, was the latest technocratic leader that Italy had to kind of consolidate the country's finances. But you had also leftist populist parties. Is a 4-star, 5-star? I was making me say 5-star, 4-star. So a former clown turned politician, meron din sila. But, you know, Salvini, Northern League and all, the more conservative right-wing populist parties have been knocking at the doors. But now, out of nowhere almost, you have Brothers of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, right, out of nowhere in a sense, creating a kind of a new wave of right-wing populism dito sa Italy. And since na-collapse yung Italian government na naman, surprise, surprise, more recently, because Mario Draghi couldn't push through with some of his legislations and reforms, ayan na. So Italy now is on the verge of going once again into a right-wing populist mood. And more likely this will be the most extreme we have seen in decades, no? So, maraming implikasyon yan, no? Maraming implikasyon yan. So most likely we're gonna see tighter restrictions on immigration, probably, on foreign workers. Most likely we might see also more tensions and fights with the European Union, if not Italexit, no? Their own version of Brexit being more seriously discussed, if not pushed for. And then, more importantly, it's very possible that there will be also a lot of pushback against sanctions on Russia because there's probably more openness to deal with Russia despite its invasion of Ukraine and less tolerance for sanctions. And I won't be surprised, Italy will also be a kind of, again, once again, an inspiration for 21st century right-wing populism. And Italians are really good in terms of style and fashion and flashiness and everything like that. So they might make right-wing populism very cool again. And most likely they're going to have a female prime minister. I think that's going to be the first female prime minister they have had in recent memory. So, whoa, they're going to make populism cool again and right-wing populism cool again. So that's why I'm watching very carefully ang nangyari dito sa Italy and where this country is going, because Italy is still a major country in Europe and internationally. Well, you know, as as much as it can be a brand for clothes and all, Bulgari, Armani, Bottega, Veneta, all of that, it could also be a brand for a political. It could be also an exporter of new political brands. As I said, Berlusconi in many ways perhaps inspired the Trump style of politics. Now let's see with Brothers of Italy and the most likely victory of the right-wing party sa Italy. How is that going to inspire other right-wing parties dito sa Europe and also beyond, no? Including the US, because Donald Trump is also planning to run for presidency in 2024. So that's what I'm saying, guys. Grabe yung there are a lot of stakes involved here. Oh, by the way, Pogi. Okay yan na. Okay yan na. Magandang brand yan. Ayan. Kamusta na kayo dyan, guys? Thank you for tuning in. I hope ay nako, hindi na yata kayo nakikinig sa akin. May paki pa rin ba kayo? Ayan. Getting a little bit to the center of the town. Alam mo dito, usually 10 to 20,000 steps tayo eh. Daily Daily. I make the most out of it kasi hindi natin masyadong nagawa sa Pilipinas. The humidity is not as bad and traffic is not as bad. In fairness naman, give it to them. Alright guys, thank you very much. I know the internet connection may not have been as good, but I still hope that the message is getting through. Right? Ayan na naman tayo eh. Yeah. This is like one of my favorite parts ito. Palazzo Vecchietti. Italiano. Yan. Nakikinig pa ba kayo sa akin? Yata kayo nakikinig sa akin. Ayan. Yan. Marami mga pogi brand dito. Saan tayo ulit dito? Ayan tayo. Wait lang, balikan ko nga yung pogi brand na yan. Mga asar tayo dyan. Ayan tayo. Ay, hindi. Meron dun sa kabila na lang, no? Ay. Ano na? Kumusta na kayo dyan sa Pilipinas? Buonasera. Buongiorno. Ciao. How are you doing? Oh, swerte nyo naman, diba? I mean, live ako from dito. Tapos, ang pinag-usapan pa natin, yung mga may sensible na bagay. Hindi lang marites, talagang marites with a heart and a substance, no? Ayan tayo. Balikan natin yan. Saan dito? Ayan. Oo, sabi ko, isingit ko talaga to. Of course, kahapon hindi pwede kasi Sabbath day yan. I don't do anything political on Sabbath day. It's a matter of respect. You have to put at least one day of your week aside for spiritual renewal and all. 1 second, guys. Okay, yan. Nag-selfie na ako. Papagalitan tayo dyan. Okay, ito. Bago maubos ang data ko, mag-thank you nga ako sa inyo. Balikan ko kayo bukas. No worry. Pag-usapan natin si Machiavelli. As I said, I was able to find Niccolo Machiavelli's effigies, tsaka ang portrait niya, originale, doon sa Palazzo. Then in a corner, old chancellery, near the exit, but you won't see it if you're too focused on the bejeweled rooms and the main halls. Yan, okay. Ayan. Pag-usapan din natin yan. So, abangan nyo rin, by the way, yung ano natin dyan, yung article natin tomorrow sa Philippine Daily Inquirer, Reflections on Machiavelli and Marcos. Right? Kinonect natin yan, pakicheck yan. Don't worry, very objective, very scholarly yan. Walang kalokohan dyan, but check it out. It's nice. Uy, ano yan? Wala, alam mo, kasi nalaman ko pala today, sarado lahat ng mga magagandang museum. Hindi ko, ang weird naman yan. Klaseng bansa. Sarado yung mga dito. Yan, Caravaggio, Botticelli, Capolavori, yan, Firenze, Da Vinci. Ayan, lahat yung kuha natin, di ba? Ay, may Apple rin pala sila dito. Apple Italia. Siguro iba yung Apple nila dito, no? May Versace brand pa yung Apple nila dito. Wala pa naman yung mga ano eh. Mamaya tayo, wala tayong ano dyan. Wala tayong panggastos dyan. Next time na yan. Ayan. Grazie. Ayan. Ibang klase. Wala akong kwentang turista. Hindi ko alam pala. Agawan pala ng mga museum, na walang museum sa Manila. Agawan ng tickets, wala. Sabi ko, dadala ako dito, tsaka I'm checking also in a way. I'm updating on politics and all dito sa Europe because Italy, of course, is a major country. So I hope you guys appreciate it. Let me thank you guys, of course, for putting aside your time and energy for us. Again, bago maubos ang data ko, Chinese kasi, limitado yung data na binibigay ng roaming nagkaklase-klase tayo. Biglang disrupt pa yung klase natin sa araw. Uy, nice. Taken. Nice. Wait lang, magwabi-sabi muna ako dito, guys. Nice. Take picture on the other side. Ayan. Nakikimarites lang tayo. Nice. Buongiorno. Ayan. Ciao. Ayan, kakain na tayo. Lunchtime na. Hindi pa ako kumain. Alam niyo naman mga kameta, twice a day lang tayo kumakain. Intermittent fasting. Just to keep our figure. Italiano. Iba talaga yung Italy. Iba sila. Iba. No offense to France, Germany, Britain. Italy talaga. Iba. Meron pa silang Sandro shop dito, guys. May nakita ko. Sandro. Yung pala from Alessandro, no? Ayan, no, Sandro. Speaking of which, gano'n tayo sa Sandro store. Ayan. Ayan, ito. Kung may pogi, may Sandro rin tayo dito. Ayan, no? Sandro. Ayan, Alessandro. Mga asal na naman ako. Yun. Ayan. Talagang... Hindi, meron pa isa pang pogi dito eh. Wait lang. Saan yung isang pogi? Hanapin natin yan bago tayo mag-goodbye. Baka dito yan. Ayan, nakapagpasyal na rin tayo sabay-sabay dito. Alam niyo naman tayo, solo flight lang ako parate. Chill lang ako. Wow, look at this. Wait lang kayo dyan, ha. Thank you. Thank you pa ako sa inyo. Ganyan talagang medyo, kailangan na. Hi. Buongiorno. Lang, Slide dito. Init. Mainit din pala dito. Grabe, global warming na talaga, no? Ayan na. Ito na yung isa pang pogi. Hanapin natin. Dito natin na. Aha. Ayan, dito tayo sa more central parts.
So, they are very...
Okay. Buongiorno. Okay, let me thank you guys while I'm finding the other pogi shop. Ayan tayo. Dalawa yun eh. Dalawang pogi. Yung isa pogi, yung isa parang Parang Alejandro Pogi or something like that. Hanapin natin yan. Ayan na. Thank you muna tayo dyan. Thank you sa mga sumasali sa atin, sumusuporta sa atin. Ayan. Thank you kay Marlene Alvis, kay OJ Sangalang. Ano po phone nyo? Ito, lumang phone na iPhone, kaya ang pangit ng video natin. Turf Jam, thank you for joining us. Kay Ma'am Jocelyn, as always, thank you so much for being so supportive. Kay Leila Enriquez, kay Alice Kasumpang, kay Noemi. Yan, Noemi. Yan. Kay Rizani, thank you so much as always. Very much appreciated. Ayan, Itsuki Komoro. Tomarigato. That's your real name. Kay Grace Katayama. Yan. Tomarigato. Kay Amy Benson, isa sa supporters team natin yan. Thank you very much. Rosario Barrer. Yan. Walang Jollibee. Okay. Guys, may church bell na. So out of respect, I'll have to stop this. Naman tayo, medyo serious tayo ganun. So I'll talk to you guys soon again. Thank you so much. Grazie. Thank you for your star. Thank you for support and everything. Dahil lang muna ako sa... Salamat guys. Ciao.